Your wallet is about to take a hit you never saw coming. If I-95 is any part of your life, if you drive it daily, occasionally, or even just once in the next few weeks, you need to freeze everything right now. And hear this. Tomorrow morning, the most aggressive highway enforcement overhaul in American history goes live on the busiest road in this country. And the cruelest part of it is this. There are no warnings, no second chances, no officer tapping your window with a friendly heads up. The system sees you, identifies you, charges you, and drops a notice in your mailbox, sometimes before you have even parked the car. I am going to break down every single new rule, every zone, every fine amount, and every action you need to take before you touch that steering wheel again. Do not skip ahead. Do not fast forward, because the change buried deepest in this update, the one that crushed drivers in the test zones over the last 6 months, the one that almost nobody is talking about, is the one that is going to hit the most people the hardest. And once you hear it, you are going to realize that virtually every driver on I-95 is already violating it without knowing it exists. Before anything else, if you know anyone who drives I-95, send this to them right now. Not when it is over, this second, because enforcement in certain jurisdictions along this corridor begins at midnight tonight. And a driver who does not know what changed is a driver who is going to open their mailbox to a very expensive surprise. One share, 3 seconds of your time. It could protect someone from a $300 fine or worse. Do it now, then come back, because we have serious ground to cover. Let us start with what I-95 actually is, because the scale of this matters. This highway does not just connect a few cities, it is the spine of the entire eastern United States, stretching 1,926 miles from Holton, Maine, at the Canadian border, all the way down to Miami, Florida. I-95 threads through 15 states in the District of Columbia on its busiest segments. It moves an estimated 300,000 vehicles every single day through the urban corridors linking Boston, New York, Philadelphia, Baltimore, Washington, D.C., and Miami. That number surges dramatically during peak travel windows. By any honest measurement, this is the most critical and most heavily traveled highway in America. It is also, by federal data, one of the most lethal. Federal highway safety records compiled through 2025 place 195 consistently among the top 3 most dangerous highway corridors in the nation, calculated by fatal crashes per mile. In the most recent 5-year reporting window, more than 14,000 injury crashes occurred on I-95 and its direct connectors. Over 1,100 people died. Digest that. More than 1,100 lives ended on this road in 5 years. These are not abstract statistics. These are fathers and mothers and children who did not make it home. And those numbers are precisely why the federal government, operating alongside all 15 state departments of transportation that share authority over this corridor, committed 2 full years to designing and testing an entirely new enforcement model built specifically for this road. That model activates in full tomorrow, and it is nothing like anything that has come before it. The old enforcement system that most drivers have spent their entire driving lives navigating worked on a simple formula. A trooper spots a violation, he pursues the vehicle, he initiates a stop, he writes the ticket. That formula depended entirely on human presence, human timing, and human judgment. It was inconsistent by nature. It caught a fraction of actual violations, and experienced drivers had learned consciously or not how to read that inconsistency and stay just inside the edge of it. That era is finished on I-95 as of tomorrow. What replaces it is a fully integrated automated enforcement network, high-definition cameras, multi-point sensor arrays, license plate recognition technology capable of scanning and processing thousands of vehicles per hour while simultaneously cross-referencing those plates against live state registration databases. Overhead radar systems mounted on gantries that can clock your exact speed without a single officer anywhere near the location. And behind all of it, a centralized violation processing system that generates the notice, links it to the registered owner of your vehicle, and dispatches it automatically. No stop, no conversation, no moment to explain. The fine is in motion before your car reaches the next mile marker. There are 7 specific changes taking effect tomorrow. Every one of them applies to you. Here is exactly what they are. The first change is the dramatic expansion of automated speed enforcement through overhead gantry-mounted radar systems. Speed cameras on I-95 were historically confined to active construction zones. Under the rules that activate tomorrow, permanent automated speed enforcement goes live at 47 new locations across the corridor, including stretches where no construction exists at all, selected entirely because crash data flagged them as high risk. The violation threshold has been slashed. The prior standard allowed up to 11 miles per hour over the posted limit before an automated notice was triggered. That margin is now 6 meters per hour over in standard zones and just 3 miles per hour over in high-density traffic areas, which means any segment falling within 10 miles of a major metropolitan interchange. A first automated speed violation in a standard zone starts at $75. In a high-density area, it opens at $125. Repeat violations inside a rolling 12-month window escalate to $250 and then to $400, with the possibility of license points added at the discretion of the recording state. The second change is the activation of minimum speed enforcement in designated segments. This is the rule almost no one is discussing. This is the rule that generated the single highest volume of violations during pilot testing. And this is almost certainly the rule that is going to shock the most people tomorrow. Every major American highway carries a minimum posted speed alongside its maximum on most I-95 travel lanes. That floor is 45 miles per hour. Crawling below that threshold in a through lane is not merely annoying to other drivers. It is illegal, and it is statistically more dangerous than exceeding the upper limit because it manufactures violent speed differentials that directly trigger braking chain reactions, sudden lane changes, and rear-end collision sequences. New sensors capable of detecting sub-minimum speeds are now live in designated segments. If you are traveling at 35 or 40 miles per hour in an active through lane on a segment where the legal minimum is 45, your plate gets recorded and a violation notice gets generated. The fine for a first offense starts at $50. This does not apply to the right shoulder during a breakdown. It applies to vehicles moving continuously below the minimum in active travel lanes when traffic is flowing freely. If you have ever slowed to 40 miles per hour in the right lane while searching for your exit or dealing with your vehicle, the new system would have ticketed you automatically. Starting tomorrow, it will. The third change is the deployment of mandatory minimum following distance enforcement in high-density corridor segments. Most drivers do not know this technology is even possible. Overhead sensor systems combining radar and infrared measurement can now calculate in real time the exact gap between consecutive vehicles traveling in the same lane. In designated high-density segments within 15 miles of a major urban interchange, allowing less than a 2-second following gap to persist for more than 4 consecutive seconds is now a recordable violation. The system measures vehicle speed, calculates the distance from your front bumper to the rear bumper of the vehicle ahead, and flags violations automatically. A first offense costs $100. A second within 12 months costs $200. 2 seconds sounds generous until you do the math. At 65 miles per hour, 2 seconds of following distance puts you roughly 190 feet behind the car in front of you. That is more than half a football field of space. The traffic culture on I-95, particularly in the Northeast, has spent decades normalizing gaps of half a second or less during heavy flow. That culture is now a ticketable offense. The fourth change is the activation of distracted driving detection cameras at 23 interchange and ramp locations across the corridor. These cameras deploy image recognition technology to identify handheld device use as drivers move through designated zones. During an 8-month pilot at 3 corridor locations, the system detected handheld device use in an average of 12.4% of all vehicles captured during peak hours. These detections are not interpretive guesses. If the camera system identifies a driver holding a phone or device above the dashboard in a manner consistent with active use, the image is flagged and a human reviewer confirms it before any notice is issued. A first distracted driving violation at these fixed camera locations costs $150 in most corridor states. In New York and New Jersey, where enhanced distracted driving penalties already exist under state law, a first offense can reach $450 plus additional surcharges. The fifth change is the full expansion of HOV lane enforcement using a combination of overhead license plate readers and occupancy detection sensors. If you use restricted HOV lanes during peak hours, this affects you directly. The new sensor infrastructure uses infrared imaging combined with machine learning occupancy estimation to flag vehicles that appear to carry a single occupant while traveling in lanes restricted to two or more during enforcement windows. Flagged vehicles are confirmed by a reviewing officer via live camera feed or intercepted by a patrol unit responding to the real-time system alert. HOV violation fines vary across the corridor. Florida starts at $65, Virginia at $125, Maryland at $90, Delaware and New Jersey at $75, New York and Connecticut at $150. Every figure applies on top of any license points the recording state chooses to assess. The sixth change introduces automated weight in motion enforcement for commercial vehicles at 31 designated corridor locations. New sensors embedded directly in the travel lanes can measure the gross vehicle weight of a commercial truck moving at highway speed without requiring that truck to exit to a static scale. When a commercial vehicle registers above the legal gross weight limit for the state where the sensor is located, an automated alert fires to the nearest enforcement unit and the vehicle is flagged for mandatory.